Hey guys, this is Cade Strong with Kitsap CrossFit, and I just wanted to give you the overall introduction to our 28-day nutrition challenge that we're starting today. Now, because of the storm, we are going to go a little bit long. I'm actually going to run things into the week after we would have normally ended to compensate for how this is going to just start, because not everyone has been able to do their in-body or get all the paperwork that I want you guys to have on hand. So as we start to get those things in, we'll be able to kind of settle things in. I'm gonna make sure that everyone has their macro numbers set and in the system for later. Now, real quick, I just wanna go over this so I don't have to do it later, is if you look in the Healthy Steps Nutrition application, you will see under at the bottom it says plans. Plans will have the meal plan that I've attached to that will give you all the idea for meals, recipes, and what to shoot to eat. It is not a steadfast hard line that you should follow. It is a guideline to give you ideas of what you can eat to keep you within those macro goals that I've given you. Now I'll give you all those here today. And then also those macro goals, those are up there at the top, and you will be able to load those into your MyFitnessPal to follow with your food later. So let's go over my introduction, my little presentation that I got going on here. Turn off phone. There we go. Now, a couple things. One, nutrition is the base of everything that we do in here. So you can work your bum off all you want, but you cannot outwork a bad diet. Every time that you guys eat something, you make a choice of whether you go closer or further away from your goals. So I want you to think about that as we go through this challenge, as you choose your meals appropriately, that even though you may be increasing your exercise levels, just because of that does not mean that we just naturally get to throw on a whole lot of extra food, and we need to be very careful about that as we go through. I know it is a natural tendency to feel that we've earned something really awesome, which you have, and that awesome thing is really good quality food in healthy doses. Simple as that. So, as we go through here, nutrition is the base of our thing. As we go through on that top, many have seen this, metabolic conditioning, the basic conditioning that we do at the gym. Gymnastics, increasing into weightlifting with sports-specific movements being the least important, but also at that higher point of what we should be focusing on if we are a sports-specific athlete. Now, what you should focus on as we go through here today. One is goal setting. I want to make sure that everybody sets goals as they go through this session, and we'll go over that a little bit more too. Are you eating consistently throughout the day? Are you making sure that you have a breakfast, a lunch, a dinner? Do you have snacks laid in place in the mid parts of those meals so that you're not overly hungry by the time you get to your normal meal? Are every meal a balance between your carbs, your fats, and your proteins? We are looking for every meal and every snack to have a good combination of all of these aspects within each their own perfect balance. You're going to be looking at about 40% of your carbohydrate intake, about 30% of your protein intake, and about 30% being a fat intake. So keep that in mind, and we'll see those numbers too. Did you drink enough? We need to make sure that we're hydrating. Are you getting in about 80 ounces of water in a day? Now, granted, if you're a bit smaller of an athlete, you may be looking to do somewhere about 60 to 80, or a larger athlete, maybe even a little bit more than 80. But do be fighting to make sure that you are hydrating with water or some type of very high water content and not sugar content drinks. Simple as that. Are you eating around your workouts? It should be really important, and I want you to focus. The only thing I really want to focus timing-wise on is that if you do come in and you're doing workouts and you're exercising, is that you are taking in some carbohydrates and proteins after those workouts. Granted, our goal is within 30 minutes, but if you do it within the next hour, you're still doing really well. Awesome? Good. Are you eating out? That's something we actually want to try to eliminate as much as possible. Not because it's bad food, but because it's really hard to measure what you're taking in and to know exactly what the ingredients are. A lot of companies will throw in a lot of sugar to really throw you off and make something taste good, but it's not going to help you. Good. Are you tracking your meals? So one of the apps that I had you guys download was MyFitnessPal, and you need to be making sure that as best as possible, you are tracking what you eat throughout the day and the quantities to give yourself a good idea if you're hitting your goals. If you cannot do that, I do have sheets that you can do it as a manual log. Let me know, and I'll give you those sheets if that app is too annoying or complicated, or you just don't have the technology to do it. Last little one is, are you focusing more on quality than quantity? You should be eating good food, not just some food in a lot of quantity. So really focus on getting good products as we go through here, eating nice meals, and focus on your cooking today. So like as we go through here, cooking is going to be a big part of what we do. Sounds good? Let's look at all the puzzle pieces. So goal setting, that first part. Goals, we want them to be SMART goals. We want them to be specific, we want them to be measurable, we want them to be attainable, realistic, and time sensitive. So a good idea and what a goal would work for a certain person like me is I'm going to be going through this challenge just like you guys, I do all the time, is I want to lose about 4 pounds. That's all I want to lose, about a pound a week, 3,500 calories. That's what I'm going to try to shed off of my body. 4 pounds in a week, so 1 pound a week for 4 weeks. Now, is it attainable? Yeah, 1 pound in a week, that's pretty attainable. I think that's a good goal to shoot for. Makes it a relatively smart goal. So is it specific? Yeah, I want to lose body fat. I want to lose 4 pounds. It's very specific. Is it attainable? Is it measurable? At the end of this, I will have in-bodies before and after, so I'll be able to see, as a measure, if that has changed. And then, is it time sensitive? Yeah, 4 weeks. I've got my time. I've got it to be specific, attainable, measurable. I'm ready to go. Here's the next thing. Write it down. Make sure that people can see what your goal is. I'm going to have you guys write in goals in our big group session just so everyone can kind of put that in there and everyone will be able to see what everyone's kind of looking for. Plus, we'll also be able to see pretty much off the dot if you go, I want to lose about 30% body fat and I want to fly like Batman, shit's not probably going to happen. So let's just make sure that that's understandable as we choose our goals. Cool. Last little thing is, who are your goals for? Why is it important to you? For example, if you're important, it's because it'd be kind of cool at the end if like I did that, yeah. It doesn't sound like you really care that much. But if it's like, yeah, I want to run around with my children for the next 40 years, I'd be like, wow, that seems pretty important to you. So it's probably going to be a lot easier for you to fight, be consistent, and measurable as we go through these things if it is something that is important to you. So take that time. Good, so those are kind of some extra pieces. I didn't really have to go over those ones. So as we go through here, our nutrition side, carbohydrates, what we're looking for carbohydrates, which is going to consist of about 40% of your overall intake as we go through here. Some people might throw you off a little bit, and it may be a little different if we talk, so keep that in mind. But roughly around 40%. Here's the things. I want you to be shooting for vegetables as your biggest source. Granted, you will also be able to take in starches. So starches being things like potatoes and rice. Some people will use pastas. That's totally fine. Keep in mind, we still want to keep those things in moderation as much as possible. With vegetables and fruits, those high fiber sources of carbohydrates being the biggest key that we aim to shoot for. Quality. Look for that quality in the carbohydrates you take in. You will thank your body later. As we go through, from there, the big things is look for sweeteners that are in a lot of these things. So you can be very, we don't want to take in certain things that are just sugars. Sugars are sugars. So even though a sugar is a carbohydrate, a lot of people will be like, what about honey? What about maple syrup? In the end, if your body has an excess that you did not burn off, it turns that sugar into fat. And that fat sits on your body and is exactly what we're trying to avoid. So let's do our best to just avoid those in as much as possible and use them in limiting sources when you do. From there, our sources of carbohydrates, one thing to think of, because your plate is going to have quite a bit on there, is that if you cut your plate in half and then in quarter one more time on one side, the entire half should be vegetables. That's what we're looking for. Are you adding broccoli in there? Cauliflower? Brussels sprouts, whatever it may be. We have tons of recipes on the meal plan, which I'll go into a little bit more depth here momentarily. The other little quarter section should be a starchier carbohydrate. So that's when you're going to throw in your sweet potatoes. Maybe your whole grain rices or brown rice, jasmine rice. Maybe you're one of those people who just really like certain potatoes or certain squashes that are a little bit starchier as a vegetable. Keep that in mind, you can do those, but let's just keep them in a little bit more limited quantities. That other little quarter, which we'll talk about here in a bit, is going to be filled with your proteins. Good. So, proteins. This is going to take up about 30% of your overall intake through the day. The big things, I want you to look for lean sources of meat. So, and by meat, I mean lean sources of protein. I say meats because I eat meat. You do not have to eat meat on this meal plan. If you have restrictions with meat and you need a vegetarian meal plan, talk to me and I will set one up for you. Sound good? So, if you're looking for, you could also do it with something like seitan, tofu. Those sources work, but let's try to watch out for as much soy. We don't want to turn everything we do as soy. We want to try to limit soy as much as possible just because it can throw off hormones a little bit. Now, we want to choose those lean sources of meats. If we do choose meats, chickens, we're looking for turkey, things like certain legumes, so beans, egg whites are a wonderful source as well. We want to try to avoid some of those medium fat meats. So we're looking at some of the like dark meat chickens where you're looking at thighs, or certain meats with skin on, large eggs. Just be careful of these because you don't have a ton of fat to eat and it can be really easy to overrun your fats. That's the only reason that we say keep those larger high fat meats like a steak at moderation. In moderation, don't eliminate it. Just have it like once a week instead of having it at every meal. Sounds good? Last little bit is those fats. We're looking for healthy sorts of fats. So avocados, certain nuts, olive oils. If it's in your meats, that's understandable. Just remember that might throw off your numbers if you're cooking with a lot of olive oil and having a high fat meat as well. That's the big reason. We try to avoid it all the time. So keep that in mind as we go through here. Meat is meat, it's good, eat it, make it about 30%. We're gonna build some muscle, we're gonna have some good times as we go through our challenge. The last little bit here, reshaping your plate. So this is kind of that plate method I talked about, cutting it in half, quartering it out on the other side. Here, hydration, make sure that you're looking for about 60 to 80 ounces of water a day. I keep wanting to say percent, I don't know why. And choosing lean cuts. A lot of this I'm going to repeat because I want you guys to make sure you hear it a few times because I'll get the same question no matter what. Look for whole foods as much as we can. We want large sources of foods that are straight. I can cook it right up and I'm done. Not processed. I shouldn't be grabbing things from boxes all the time, but it can work and it can be helpful in times when you need food quickly and not go to, say, Burger King or something like that. Good. So watching out for sugars and avoiding the processed junk. Here's that plate method, and it gives you a great picture of what that could kind of look like on an overall plate, where you have half of that being your broccoli. There's some grains, so there's some rice, and it looks like a little bit of squash on your starchy vegetables, and then your lean proteins, some chicken with some basil and some tomatoes. So good idea of how you should balance your plate at every single time so that you can see exactly what you're eating and making sure that you're getting in all sources of those protein, fats, and carbohydrates that your body requires and needs. Now, interpreting the meal plan. Here's the thing with a meal plan. There's a couple pieces of it, as I've set it out, it is a general meal plan, meaning that everyone here in the challenge got the same meal plan. So if you're looking at it as cooking, it'll have ranges of what you should take in. Now, that being said, for the ranges, women, if you are looking to lose weight, then you want to stay on those lower ranges. Women looking to maintain and maybe build some muscle should stay in those medium ranges. Men looking to lose weight, probably in those medium ranges again. Now, this is just based off of overall size of person. And then men looking to maintain or build some more muscle mass should be looking to take in those upper ranges on the meal plan. All of those meal plan items that have the triple asterisks next to them have a recipe, and that recipe is at healthystepsnutrition.com. You can go in there and find all the recipes that have that triple asterisk in there. Everything on the meal plan is measured as cooked weight, meaning I want you have cooked chicken and then you have 4 ounces of that cooked chicken, not 4 ounces of uncooked chicken that you then cooked and then ate. Same with rice. I cooked my rice. If it says half a cup of rice or a quarter cup of rice, that means cooked, and then I measure out my half cup or quarter cup of rice. So make sure as you look at it, things are cooked and then you're weighing them. Secondarily, if you need that recipe, it's on there at healthystepsnutrition.com, and that it is a range fight for, at the end of the day, your numbers fall in that perfect zone that I am looking for you to hit that I gave you here later today. Sounds good. From there, meal prepping. A couple things that can be super helpful for meal prepping, and this is going to be that very first task that we go through, is this week, granted you have power, I want you to meal prep for one of your meals throughout the week. Now, here's the thing. Things that can help, 3 compartment containers, little to-go containers that you can already compartmentalize your proteins, your carbohydrate veggies, and your fats. Right, sense? Perfect. Now, other things that can be helpful for this, crock pot, something like a slow cooker or an Instapot. These things can be very beneficial so that you can throw them in, have them cook through the day, and you don't have to worry about it at night. Sound good? Also, as we go through here, my biggest point is I want you to choose a meal that you already have difficulty with. Breakfast, I never eat breakfast. Lunch, I always forget my lunch and I go out to eat. Or maybe it's dinner, like I go home, there's nothing in, I order a pizza. Then choose that meal that you have the most trouble with, and I want you to prep for that week. Make sense? So make it so that you choose the hardest meal, and then let's find a meal that works for you. Find out what you need, what are the ingredients that need to be used to make it, and then let's fight for it. Let's do it, okay? Sounds good. From there, that's gonna be our big thing we wanna make sure that we stay consistent with our meals as much as possible. I don't wanna have a giant breakfast, a giant dinner, go to bed and be funky. Because you're gonna have some times in the midpoint where you will fall to cravings or you will be super hungry. So our consistency is that we look to eat about every 3 hours. Now before you freak out on me, I want you to have a breakfast, a lunch, and a dinner. If you find that you have difficulty lasting to lunch or to that dinner, then you need to start to incorporate snacks to keep that hunger at bay and to make sure that you last to the other end without overeating or indulging in those final meals. If you can make it a breakfast and a dinner and you are staying within the numbers, it's not the healthiest way, but it's better than not. So if that's how you have to eat, then let's work around it, and you can talk to me, ask me some questions, and we can make it work. But if you can, look to be consistent, eat consistently through the day with balanced meals. Good. Good. Hydration, same old, like I said. The big thing with hydration that I want you to focus on, alcohol. I'm not eliminating alcohol. I can hear the collective sighs of relief. Now, I do want you to focus on what you're taking in as your alcohols. All these things are coming into your body as basic carbs and sugars. So, look at what you mix in with your drink. If you are mixing in copious amounts of sugary beverages, Cokes, whatever that may be, simple sugars go into a lot of these, simple syrups go into a lot of these beverages. Be careful of those. Look for things that you can replace with that. Do try to avoid as much as you can your fake sugars, just because it's just replacing that simple urge, and then at the same point we'll end up using those, and a lot of them your body reacts very similar ways even though it's not calories. So it can still shoot up insulin in certain ways just because the body's reacting weird ways. So as we go through here, make sure that you also, if you have a drink, try to have water in between other drinks if you are having multiple. And do your best to avoid that one I just said as multiple. So it's okay to have a drink, relax, have a good one, but avoid the sugars. Make sure you're hydrating around them and put it into the system so you know that you are taking in those carbs and sugars, and modify appropriately. Sound good? If you have questions about alcohol, let me know. Good. Eating around your workout. Like I said, I want you to try to do your best to have some proteins and carbs after your workout. Now, 30 minutes to an hour, it is very helpful if these are liquid sources, just because it's easier for your body to absorb. That's why you'll see a lot of people use protein shakes. Of protein shakes, whey protein is a better source than soy. Your body likes it a little bit better, and it does not fight those hormones a little bit as we go through there. Less is more. So do shoot for protein sources that don't have a ton of of this or that or fake flavors or weirdness. Just something that has some protein and carbs. If you need to eat it, it's totally fine. I got some chicken and rice. You will kill it. Your body will not absorb it quite as fast. It'll still get it, and it'll still use those things to build your muscle, recover your body as best as possible. So keep that in mind as you go through. We have lots of great sources of protein here. What about coffee? I get this question a lot. Coffee's fine, but be careful about too much coffee. And the only big reason for that is I want you to be careful and mindful of your sleep as well. So coffee, just 1 cup of coffee's half-life is 10 to 12 hours. So if you have one in the morning, yay, it's finally wearing off by the time you're going to bed tonight. So if you're having a coffee and waiting till the midday and having another one, your body's still gonna be processing that as you start to try to go to bed later that night. So be careful. If you are a 3 coffee a day person, look for 2. Maybe even see if you can't fight for 1. I wouldn't recommend eliminating it because that might be a pretty terrible headache that you get, but it's okay, just quantities. Once again, we want to be mindful of what we're taking into our body and how our bodies are reacting to it. Catch some Z's. So part of our challenge this time is going to be our lifestyle challenge. And here's the sheet I'm going to be handing out to everybody here in the challenge. Now it has all 28 days, front and back. You would give yourself a 5 if you felt you did well. You give yourself a 1 if you did it miserably. If you did your best, but it just wasn't the mark, maybe something like a 3. These are things like sleep. Did I get at least 6 hours in the night? Not 8 hours. Did I get at least 6 hours of good sleep throughout the night? Stress relief. If I'm doing something that helps me release that stress that I currently have. Stress is a terrible thing that will help hold on fat like nobody's business. So let's try to eliminate it with some hobbies or what things you do to relax. Hydration. Are you hitting your hydration? Are you getting in exercise through the day? Maybe it's not the same as you came into that workout class, but you're doing your best. And your nutrition as well is on there. So if you're hitting those nutrition goals within 80%, knock it down. Nailed it as a 5. Now, say 80%. You have your numbers. I want you to shoot for them as best as you can. But if you can be within 80% of that, you're doing really well, and that's keeping us consistent. 80%. 1,600 calories I gotta hit. I hit 15. I hit 17. Nailed it. As far as I'm concerned, you are rocking this challenge so far. Don't worry about the 1 calorie. It's never gonna happen. You know what 1 calorie is? It's like a few grains of sugar. That's like it. So be careful as we go through here, but look for it to be as close as we can. We also have these handout booklets. You will get these ones. This one says 6-week challenge because the ones that I have ordered that say 28-day challenge, well, the snow kind of stopped them. So we'll have them here for you if you want one now. This includes all this information that I went over in this PowerPoint and that I'm talking about right now in a little bit more detail, or at least so it's written down for you. It even includes your goal setting sheets as well, so you can make sure you write those down, make sure that they're important to you. Good. So how do we get started? As I said, the very first thing I want you to focus on is prepping a meal that is a challenging one for you this week. You'll get these booklets, you'll get your lifestyle factor sheets. Eventually, as you guys get into the gym, as the snow calms down, I want you to start filling these out as best you can, and I want you to start focusing on logging your food in MyFitnessPal, which I will be able to see in the HSN app, and I also want you to start to correspond in the HSN public page. So inside that application, you'll be able to now write and converse with all of your cohorts in our challenge, and you'll be able to see what other people's, goals are, what certain people have found have been very beneficial if they've gone through similar challenges, or what certain people's hang-ups are. And then we can work around there, because there might be someone whose hang-up someone else has had, and they've already been able to beat that hang-up with a certain type of help. So let's share that information with each other. I am a great source of information, but what I have found is that I have never done a challenge without finding people inside the challenge that have more information about something than I do. On top of the fact that they have probably gone through a certain aspect that I've never even thought of or had an issue with, that then increases the information not only for me, but for the whole group as a whole. Sounds good? So share, let's get some of these paperwork when eventually you can come in here safely and grab them. I will have them here in the back office. As we start to get this thing off, if you have any questions, Kate at Kitsap CrossFit, I'll get back to you as soon as I can. Or you can message me through that HSN app, which is going to be the main way that I correspond with everybody through the challenge. Hit me up if you have those questions. I will talk to you guys soon. I hope this helps as much as it can. I'll send this out through YouTube as well as through an email message to everyone in the challenge. Have a wonderful day. Stay safe and warm out there, guys.